Sequels to comic book movies are now more common than James Bond movies, and they are becoming even more popular thanks to the seemingly never-ending stream of great comic book movies. But every now and then, we get a comic book movie that's either okay, bad, or just flat out terrible. I'm looking at you, Fan4Stick! But you also get that one comic book movie that is just completely divisive amongst fans of the source material as well as general film goers alike, and in the summer of 2016, that film was of course Suicide Squad. Warner Bros.' first villain-centric superhero movie that focuses on some of DC's most iconic villains. Unfortunately, as you do with most DC movies these days, the film was met with bad reviews and disappointment from critics and fans alike. Personally, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was particularly fantastic though, but I certainly enjoyed it. However, with Suicide Squad 2 well on the way with Gavin O'Connor, the man behind such great films like Warrior and The Accountant, stepping into the director's chair, an okay film is not going to be enough this time around. So Warner Bros., if you're watching this, and I know you're not, here are a few tips on how not to screw up Suicide Squad 2. One of the problems that many people like myself have with the first film is that there was never a constant or consistent tone. The film seemed to jump between being a Guardians of the Galaxy style comedy and a dark superhero film that felt more along the lines of the 1989 Tim Burton Batman film. The tone needs to be constant as well as consistent. As for what kind of tone to go for, I would personally go for a more dark and gritty tone, something along the lines of The Dark Knight, which I think would mix well with these characters, particularly Deadshot and Harley Quinn, both of which have rather dark and, in some cases, tragic backstories, and it would also present the opportunity to show us the darker side of characters like Deadshot, who in the New 52 Suicide Squad Volume 1 Kicked in the Teeth comic, was willing to sacrifice his own squad members in order to finish the mission successfully and see his daughter again. As great superhero team-up movies such as the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy have shown us, it never hurts the movie to have scenes where the characters just sit down and talk to each other. Scenes like these in comic book movies make superpowered badasses like Captain America and the Hulk feel more human. Suicide Squad definitely had scenes like that, which I thought was one of the film's strengths, particularly that great scene in the bar. Suicide Squad 2 definitely needs to have more scenes like that to humanize characters who are typically portrayed to be evil nutcases who in some cases are serial killers who take credit cards. Particularly if you're thinking of bringing in characters like Killer Frost or possibly even Deathstroke, both of which are typically well known for being some of DC's most evil villains. It would also give characters such as Katana, Captain Boomerang and Killer Croc some much needed development as they were treated more as background characters who didn't have much to do in the main plot. The idea behind Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, is that they are a group of highly advanced individuals who are recruited by Amanda Waller to tackle missions thought impossible for regular soldiers. Perhaps the biggest plot hole in Suicide Squad was that the government was basically using guns, swords, boomerangs, a guy who makes fire who no longer makes fire, a petting zoo, and a guy who can climb things to fight an 1,000-year-old witch who can create giant blue beams in the sky and create an instant army of soldiers who can take a headshot and still walk. Essentially making characters like Harley Quinn, a crazy woman with a bat, seem rather pointless in the grand scheme of things. The best way to avoid facing this problem for a second time would be to have the plot be centered on the squad being sent to another country to take down a terrorist organization, therefore opening the window for more brutal and realistic action sequences that are grounded in reality, or better yet, have the squad attempting to break into Arkham Asylum to take out a valuable target, like the Joker for example, not only making for a suspenseful, claustrophobic story that's grounded in reality, but also giving Harley Quinn a reason to be in the film other than pure fan service. Perhaps the most surprising thing about Suicide Squad, other than the admittedly overly simplistic plot or the lack of Joker, was the film somehow managed to get away with being called Suicide Squad, but somehow be completely and utterly bloodless. Suicide Squad 2's action sequences need to be grounded and realistic to fit with the abilities of characters like Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and of course Captain Boomerang, but above all, it needs to be brutal. We as the audience want to feel shocked and blown away when a squad member has their head blown off because they disobeyed an order or tried to escape. Have the action be bloody, tense, and dirty, and you'll make fans of the source material very happy. One thing that I can definitely say I hated about Suicide Squad, other than Enchantress, was the soundtrack. Don't get me wrong, all the songs in the soundtrack are very good songs in reality, but they did not fit the tone of the movie at all. It felt like the editor was literally getting all his favourite songs from his Spotify and spreading them all over the final cut of the film. I can definitely see it was meant to make the film more fun, but in the end it came off as jarring and unwelcomed. The songs did nothing but relieve the film of any tension the film had sustained, and I know some of you are going to be typing in the comments saying, Guardians of the Galaxy did the exact same thing. Let me make something clear to you. The reason the soundtrack in Guardians of the Galaxy worked wasn't just because it fitted the tone of the movie, and it was only used when necessary, but also because it meant something to the main character. It was part of the plot. In Suicide Squad, it just felt like they were saying, "Here's a good song, listen to it, you'll enjoy it more." Personally, I couldn't care less if Joker is in this film, seeing as how he's more than likely going to be in Gotham City Sirens and a supposed Joker and Harley Quinn romance movie, or even better, Ben Affleck's Batman movie. But if you're going to include him in Suicide Squad 2, at the very least, give him a reason to be in the film. In the first movie, he was barely in it, and whenever he was momentarily on screen, it never felt like he was part of the film. He just felt like a background character who was implemented into the film purely because of Harley Quinn, and supposedly you can't have Harley Quinn without the Joker. His scenes are so minimal in the film that it seems unfair to even judge Jared Leto's performance as a character. We don't even get to see him interact with any of the other squad members outside of Harley Quinn, besides firing a gold machine gun at them from a helicopter. If you're going to include Joker in the film, then for God's sake, make him the main villain. Not only would this make for some great tension and conflict for Harley Quinn, but it would also finally give Jared Leto the chance to show the world how much effort he put into getting into the character, and give this new and very different interpretation of the Joker some much needed development and interactions between not only Harley Quinn, but even the rest of the squad. Well, there you go. Those are my tips on how not to mess up Suicide Squad 2. Hopefully Warner Bros. Won't do what they did last time and hit the panic button purely because a competitor is doing better or because their previous attempt didn't go so well. I'm actually hoping they'll let Gavin O'Connor do his own thing and not constantly interfere with the production process to the point where it actually hurts the movie. But all we can do is hope and wait and see what happens. I want more than anything to see a great Suicide Squad movie, and I really hope Gavin O'Connor can deliver just that, or the complete opposite can happen and we end up with more deceiving trailers, another jarring soundtrack, and possibly another extended cuts that feels like a total scam.